Hello, dear students. Welcome to our series on World Regional Geography. Today we deal with river systems that drain the Asiatic terrain in this third episode. Today let us try to understand how the continent has shaped the flow of rivers and how the rivers and riparian ecosystems in turn have rendered terrain pattern fruitful and productive. Today we will learn about Introduction to Riparian Ecosystems, Asia's major rivers, their courses and fertile plains, their drainage basins and tributaries, the rivers' deltas, estuaries and ecosystems, and the faunal diversity in the rivers. So let's start with Introduction to Riparian Ecosystems. Rivers are water bodies that flow from a higher point to a lower point, invariably towards seas or oceans, and carry currents full of mineral deposits. Rivers run off by channelizing groundwater aquifers downstream. Most rivers that drain through the earth's ridges towards the sea or the ocean carry fertile alluvial soils and other mineral deposits towards the estuaries or delta ecosystems. A river is a natural watercourse, usually fresh water, flowing toward an ocean, a lake, a sea, or another river. In a few cases, a river simply flows into the ground or dries up completely before reaching another body of water. An example of such a river that does not drain into the sea or the ocean is the Okavango in Africa. Small rivers may also be called by several other names, including stream, creek, brook, rivulet, rill, and tributary. There is no general rule that defines what can be called a river. An exception to this is the stream. In some countries or communities, a stream may be defined by its size. Many names for small rivers are specific to geographic location. One example is Burn in Scotland and northeast England. Sometimes a river is said to be larger than a creek, but this is not always the case because of vagueness in the language. A drainage basin or a riparian ecosystem is an extent or area of land where water from rain and melting snow or ice drains downhill into a body of water such as a river, a lake, reservoir, estuary, wetland, sea, or ocean. The drainage basin includes both the streams and rivers that convey the water and the land surfaces from which water drains into those channels. It is separated from the adjacent basins by a drainage divide. Thus, it makes sense that most of Asia's rivers are born in the mountainous plateaus of either Central Asia or through the mountainscapes of West Asia. The Indus and her tributaries, the Ganga and most of her tributaries, the Yangtze Kiang and her tributaries, the Mekong and her tributaries, the Sikiang and her tributaries all take birth in the mountain passes covered by verdant forests in the Central Asian highlands. And from the Central Asian highlands, all these river systems flow through the ridges on the terrain towards the sea in the different coasts of South Asia. The ecological role of rivers. The drainage basin includes both the streams and rivers that convey the water as well as the land surfaces from which water drains into those channels. Thus, the drainage basin actually comprises of a labyrinth of groundwater aquifers that feed into a larger channel, forming a larger flowing water body, the river. While the groundwater aquifers flow through densely forested areas, the forests in turn enrich the moisture content in the soil strata, thus recharging the aquifers. The soil and sediment discharged by the rivers into the ocean or the sea help maintain coastal humidity and sea temperatures, so crucial to sustain marine fauna and marine ecosystems. The marine ecosystem in turn channelizes ocean currents and evaporation that fosters rain-bearing clouds. The water in a river is usually confined to a channel or a ground ridge made up of a stream bed between banks. In larger rivers, there is also a wider floodplain shaped by floodwaters overtopping the channel. Floodplains may be very wide in relation to the size of the river channel. This distinction between river channel and floodplain can be blurred, especially in urban areas where the floodplain of a river channel can become greatly developed by housing and industry. The river channel typically contains a single stream of water, but some rivers flow as several interconnecting streams of water, producing a braided river. Extensive braided rivers are now found in only a few regions worldwide, such as the South Island of New Zealand and the Mekong Delta in Southeast Asia. They have multiple sinuous channels carrying large volumes of sediment. In depositing soil and sediment to the ocean floor where the rivers meet the sea or the ocean, new land is created. Latest ocean research suggests that seas without rivers flowing into them are less salty and support more coral reefs and marine forests. Example is the west coast of the Andaman Islands. The salts deposited by rivers in the seas help in maintaining coastal humidity and ambient temperatures. There are no rivers in the Andaman group of islands. Thus, the seas off the west coast of the Andaman Islands is less salty and richer in marine fauna, including coral reefs, dolphins, dugongs and whales, whale sharks, seabirds, flying fish, squids, giant clams, shells, mussels, oysters, nautilus, sea cucumbers, sea horses, etc. Rivers that flow from upcountry or higher plateaus towards sea level discharge a lot of salts, soil, sediment, etc., which deposit these kinds of sediment and soil on the river banks. Further, rivers often change course, rendering abandoned floodplains infinitely fertile. Rivers fed by snow melt are perennial rivers, while rain-fed rivers change their volume depending on the volume of water collected at the source or catchment area. The rivers have created vast fertile plains which are the breadbaskets in Asia. Punjab is the Doab region between the tributaries of the Indus. The Indo-Gangetic plain spreads from the southern banks of Yamuna to the delta of the Ganges in the east and to the delta of the Indus on the west.